Africa itself has been fragmented.
Mm.
They've been fragmented for a while. We find out that the way I can travel, I should be able to, I'm using this word now carefully, I should be able to travel easily within the African continent. We find out that sometimes because of the passport I have, I might not be able to do that. But you find out that someone coming from maybe the US, UK, because he has a passport, can just travel, can just pick his
Okay.
passport and run
Okay.
freely.
We say that. We say, see, it's true. Okay. And we say that a lot. But the point nobody,
Yes.
I haven't heard anybody articulate is this. Why? Why do we allow
It's because
somebody coming from US or Canada or UK to just fly into any country in Africa, but we don't allow the next door neighbor to fly in? Why?
it's because see, it's I believe everybody sees it as a protectionist policy. A
Okay.
story was told about when some people were traveling to some African countries way back, that's years ago. You have to go to Paris first, then you travel to the African country. Why should
Mm.
you have that? Why can't I
Okay.
pick a passport and
Okay.
down in Lagos I take a
So
train
you're
to
asking the
Lomé?
question again. So why? What is it that is holding us from doing those things?
The thing is, I believe it comes from the leadership itself. Because if you have a policy that I can go from Lagos or from Kanu
Why don't you have
to
that policy?
somewhere in Ouagadougou freely,
Mm.
I think it's that's one thing I'm in support of this African free trade
Oh, see,
continental
I,
area.
I'm totally in support. Okay, but the point is this: the thing that has been on, at least they have been doing the ratification since
The application,
2018. Okay, but yet,
yes, yes.
it's not on ground. Okay, so that's the question I'm asking. Why do we? What is holding us back? See, we
I
need to
think
identify these things.
I think it's the mindset. I think, some people, I'm just saying, I don't know what their thoughts are, but I'm just saying as a general thing. Some people believe that probably if that thing comes into full operation, they might be left out in terms of productivity. Because
Okay,
you're not telling me now that somebody from Abakaliki can bring his product freely into my country and sell. But
okay,
some people believe that because of the state of where we are in terms of efficiency and productivity, we might not be able to have that edge over those people. So everybody's trying to protect their market, which is not supposed to be the mindset. Because
well,
if you
see,
tell me, okay, okay,
mindset are built based on reality. Okay,
yes,
mindset are built based on reality. So if we have
yes,
this mindset, then we need to
mm-hmm,
step back and say, how do we solve this mindset issue? Okay, that means we need to change the dynamics of reality.
exactly. They need to see. The thing is, are they seeing it the way others are seeing it? Is someone else, maybe somewhere in Harare, Zimbabwe, is he seeing it the way I'm seeing it? That okay, I think this could be good enough for us as Africans for me to say, okay, there's full movement of goods, services, full movement of people. Am I seeing it the way somebody in Harare, Zimbabwe is seeing it, or in Arusha, Tanzania is seeing it? So these are
For
the
example,
questions we need to
okay, for example,
ask ourselves. Yeah.
if there's free movement everywhere in Africa, okay, I will tell you one thing:
Mhm.
South Africa will be flooded, Nigeria will be flooded. Yes,
Exactly.
that is the reality.
Yes, I understand.
Kenya
I
will be
understand.
flooded. This Rwanda will have double the population in one month. Okay, see,
Yes.
so these are
Yes.
realities. See,
Yes.
unfortunately, we are not
Mhm.
bold enough to address to even acknowledge these things openly. Until we are able to
Yeah, but
acknowledge these things openly, we cannot solve the problem. We cannot begin to solve the problems.
but you see, this same challenge you just said now, just posed now, is the same challenge UK faced when they were in the EU, when they
Yes.
had to do the Brexit issue,
Yes.
because they felt that most of these Eastern European countries were coming in, crime rates were up. I remember then, crime rates were up, and there's a lot of crime, and there was some Britons felt that the Eastern Europeans were taking their jobs for a
Mm.
lesser pay.
Mm.
Remember,
Yes.
so now they're out of the Brit exit has taken effect and everything, but they are finding it difficult to still trade with Europe because now some of them are saying, come, you have to meet our regulations, then you have to meet our customs, things
Yeah.
like that. So it's creating a challenge for them as well. So
Yeah.
if I say, okay, I don't want, because of people coming in from other countries to flood Nigeria and not, I don't want to be part of it. Well, I think that could be a disservice in itself, because
Well,
if I'm saying, okay, it could be a disservice.
the public
It could
the
be a disservice
population
itself.
shift. The population shift
Yes.
has consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See, imagine if
Yes.
a lot of people from West Africa flood into Nigeria. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where would they go?
Mm-hmm.
They will go to maybe 3 or 4 cities. Okay. Lagos,
Yes.
right? Port Harcourt,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Abuja, maybe
Yes.
Kano, right? Now,
Yes.
all
Yes.
those cities right now have
Mm-hmm.
huge accommodation problems. Okay?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what will happen?
Mm-hmm.
They already have those issues.
Yes. Everything. Things like that. Things like that will come with its attendance, because you find out that as the population is growing, they tend to move to some particular commercial
Yes.
locations
Yes.
in some particular country, things like that. You just take for instance the UK. Some people will say central London is congested. The next place they think about is Birmingham. Oh, Birmingham is the cost of living is too high.
They won't go to Birmingham unless the jobs move to Birmingham.
Birmingham. And so now you find out that the central London itself, because if you go to central London, you find out that, in fact, sometimes when you go to central London, you'll be like, oh, this place is too, I don't think I can stay here. It's too congested. The congestion is too much, things like that. You tend to say, even some people, I'll tell you for free. Some people will tell you, a friend of mine that lives in Luton will tell me, I'm not going to central London. I don't think it's too congested for me. I'm going back to my Luton. Let me go and live my quiet life in Luton. Leave them in the central London. Let them be doing their thing. So that's the thing. See, you'll still have, there's no way those attendant problems won't be there. Lagos
Okay.
State right now is dealing with congestion in terms of traffic congestion. And they are saying, okay, let's explore other means of transportation. We have the rails going now. There's been some massive developments in that aspect. There are rails connecting Lagos to other states. There are rails. In fact, if I think if this goes into operation, the Lagos Badagry rail system to connect Lagos straight to Benin. So these are attendance problems that any growing city will face.
Yes.
Whether it's by sheer population growth, or whether it comes as an African policy, whether the policy comes into effect and they move into those climes. But what I'm saying is, are you saying that those other countries can't look at themselves and say, okay, yes, I can't, there's no way some countries will be like Nigeria in terms of development or growth, economic growth or anything. But okay, this is where we are. This is what we are. I think this is what we can do where we are. Kenya might not have the resources Congo, DRC Congo has, that rare metal and all that, but they have their tourism and they are building their economy around their tourism. Can't I say, okay, yes, I'm an African country, but what I can do best is agriculture. Then whatever comes with the agro-allied industry and all that.
I will say this. I will say this. I will say this clearly. Unfortunately, yes, we can talk about all those things intellectually, okay? But in reality, these things haven't happened for the last 60 years, okay? Right? Yes. These things haven't happened in the last 60 years. See, yes, a lot of African countries are poor, okay? Yes. That's the truth. A lot of African countries are poor in terms of per capita income. Okay, I'm not saying the resources underground. Okay.
No, I understand clearly. I'm an economist too, so I know
exactly
where. So, but okay, they are saying they are poor. They are saying they are poor. But have they looked inward and say, what can we do? In terms of where we are and in terms of what our growth should be like in let's say in decades. Let's think in decades. Let's say, okay, in 10 years, in 15 years. When I think it was I was discussing with somebody, I said, come on, look at Ethiopia. Tell me the industry that is growing in Ethiopia that's more than coffee and their airline. So you look at where you are and say, okay, let's think in decades. This is where we are. This is our per capita GDP per capita. And say, okay, how do we grow this from where we are and what we have? Let's grow it. Let's grow it from, yes, we do the best of it. Fine. We have this best airline, Ethiopian Airline, fine. Now you find out that Ethiopian Airline has some other countries, stake in some other countries' airline now. So can't you say, okay, this is where we are.
See, for me,
poverty itself. Okay, let me say some stuff. Poverty itself, look at DRC Congo. They have rare earth metals that all electronic companies need. Look at what is going on, the conflict that is going on in the country. Can't they say, sit down, okay, this is where we are. We have these rare earth metals. This is the best thing we can do for ourselves. We've discovered this, and we are telling ourselves in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, this is where we need to be. Not minding all the conflicts that are going on.
See, this thing is the issue. We over intellectualize things. But yes, the reality is that human beings don't work like that. See, I will say one thing. Yes, one thing that will help us. One thing that will help us. See, instead of just open borders all through that anybody can move. See, we need to systematically encourage entrepreneurs, free movement.
Yes.
Okay, entrepreneurs. Definitely. That means entrepreneurs from Nigeria, from Egypt, from South Africa, from Kenya, from whatever can move anywhere. If they can prove that I am an entrepreneur, I do this. This is what I've done in Lagos. I want to go to Zambia and do the same thing. Okay. Now, allowing those kind of those kind of people to move, they can go around creating businesses. Okay, so for me, the government needs to do this. Okay, or can do this, allowing free movement of entrepreneurs and their money to move instead of allowing everybody. Okay, if you allow everybody wahala, but if you allow entrepreneurs, now I can move from Lagos and go to anywhere that labor is cheaper and create a business. Okay, now if entrepreneurs move, entrepreneurs move, they move with their money, they can create businesses, they can start creating little infrastructure and start making their products in places that are cheaper, and they cannot start trading these products around the continent. Okay, so in maybe 10 years, all those places where entrepreneurs move to will be richer. The people who work in those places will be richer. Okay.
Yes.
Now, it's because if you allow everybody to move, oh boy. Anyway.
You experience what the EU experienced with the EU.
No, see, it's not. See, what is the population of the EU? Okay, the population of the EU is less than half of Africa.
Half of Africa.
Yeah. Okay. And the poorest European country in Europe is rank as one of the richest country in Africa. So allowing everybody to move in Africa, the massive migration. You go kill everything. Anyway.
But the thing now is, you know, the question I ask myself is, if I create a country like Rwanda, replicate something like Rwanda in my own country, why will have you ever seen, I was asking somebody, I said, have you ever seen a community of Singaporeans anywhere else? A community. I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about a community. I said, have you seen them anywhere else? Singaporeans anywhere else? A community of Singaporeans outside of their country. You hardly ever find such. Because Singapore itself is a prosperous country. So what will a Qatari want to go and, why will he go and live abroad when he's not doing business? Or more...
when it comes to the Arab countries, that's because they get everything for free, with little work. Okay.
So now they get everything for free. Even when you attain a particular level of education, you know that you are assured of this quality of life.
Because hold on, the Arab countries, their population is very low, low population, and massive mineral resources,
which are put into judicious use. They use their resources prudently, and they use it for the welfare of their citizens. You hardly ever find such replicated in most African countries. You hardly ever find it.
Again, we can go back and say, see, many of us don't realize that Arab countries, the Middle East, has been developing, interacting with each other for
years.
Over 3,000 years. Okay, so look, that's the same thing I talked about Africa. Okay, we are new to the game. We are new to the game.
But we can play catch up. Okay, let's play catch up.
Yes, we can do catch up. But it needs to be very systematic. Okay? Okay? Because now the population boom, if we allow that migration will kill everything. So we need to do it little by little, but in a very systematic way.
In fact, even the countries don't expect some of them will migrate.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't want to start mentioning them because even some countries you expect to stay, they will migrate with it.
yeah.
You will not be asking yourself, why?
See, in West Africa, only Nigeria, Ghana. I was saying, see, in West Africa, only Nigeria, Ghana, maybe Sierra Leone, maybe. So this is where the likes of Togo, Benin, Mali, even Burkina Faso, Niger will run to. Yeah, everybody will flood the and it will damage the economies of the recipient countries, and as well as the where people are migrating from, because everything would there would just cease. So we need to do it in a very systematic way, But
yes, okay. Yeah, like you said, businesses should just maybe the only thing that should have free movement, apart from just individuals, just businesses, so that at least they'll be able to create wealth, generate employment, and add value to whichever recipient countries they choose to migrate.
Yeah.
So I think
I think for the first 10 years, entrepreneurs should be given free movement so that they can go anywhere in Africa and start creating businesses. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when businesses are created and the businesses more businesses are growing, then we now start looking at the next level. What kind of people do we want to move? Maybe expats and all that. Anyway, that's my take. That's my.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on that. I agree with you on that, so that you don't have all this congestion and all that. And sometimes if you're not too careful with it, you find out that you don't want crime rates going up. You don't want to have issues where some European countries are having people sleeping on the streets and things like that.
Exactly,
so
and that will happen.
I know that. So let's. I think we could, we find a way to curb those things by looking at that policy really and saying, okay, it's those that have work or are doing business that can move freely.
Yeah.
In terms of that, I think I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you on that.
All right.
With you on that.
All right. So